All right. We are back for round one's review for 2022 Supercoach. Hopefully the audio's a little bit better. I just spent like 2 hours trying to fix it. Yeah, not a bad round to start the year. 2267. I'm cool with that. Obviously there were higher scores, but considering like the mess that was the defensive line this week, um, I'll take it. There was ups, there was downs. Definitely not terrible. Rank 29,000 really means nothing round one. I think the last 3 years in a row, the winners came from like behind 10,000, which, I'm almost at 30,000, but the same precedent applies. Round one doesn't matter. There's a lot of fluky teams round one. But yeah, once it loads up, you can see that there was a mess in the back line, and I'm not happy about it. Um, it's made a lot of mistakes, man. A lot of maybe I just wasn't thinking. But yeah, Crisp. I actually have notes because a lot of these guys made me mad, so I turned off the game for long portions, and I had to like write notes about what I saw. Crisp playing midfield up here sounds like it works. He's a ball getter. He's involved in like most of Hollywood's like attack movements. But no, it doesn't work. It's a complete flop. If he plays as midfielder, he'll drop to 400k, maybe even less. He's just a bad midfielder. He's not good at that. What he is now. He scored 69. That's probably his average if he stays there. And probably the most worrying part is that when stuff was starting to go south and St Kilda was making a comeback, and they were just like, "Oh, okay, what can we do?" They put Crisp forward. That's not what you want. You want him to actually go behind the ball, go more into defense, uh, where he can kind of move around a bit more, take a mark, kick to someone else, run around them, grab the handball off the guy with the mark. Like he's a very give and go player, so he likes it to really like stat pad almost. Not really stat padding. He does help. So yeah, not really not happy with Chris' performance. Um, I'm not going to trade him this week. I want to see. They've got Adelaide this week. Maynard's back. Maynard was huge. I even have in my notes, it says there was no Maynard. He plays better as a defender. And from preseason reports, again, these are likely just puff pieces, like the Rayner puff piece. Uh, Maynard is going to be playing that midfield role. Like he's going to swap with Pendlebury. Um, hopefully, it was crisp this game because Maynard was out, and the normal rotation is Maynard and Pendlebury. We'll see though, because Dacos looked really good and he's playing halfback. I don't know where Crisp is going to go. If it's forward, then I'm trading him. Is If he plays forward, he might actually be the worst defender pick at over 500k. He's not good. But also have here, and this is important. This is why I don't think you trade him this week. Score of 69 is his lowest score since round 12 in 2020. 2020 was a bad year for a lot of players because it was the COVID year, having to play up in Brisbane. The Gabba just didn't suit a lot of teams, and Metricon didn't suit a lot of teams. So hold for now. He is, I think, the most traded out. No, he's not. It's Baldwin, which is fair. To this, I don't agree with. I don't think you should be trading him out this week. Baldwin, yeah, I reckon trade him out. I don't know. We'll see on him. But yeah, Crisp is a man. This could have been Stewart. If I This could have been Stewart, and it was originally Hall. And it was also Lloyd. Um, I again, there's I haven't got any proof for this, but I think Lloyd has COVID, and that's why he missed. There's not really any proof behind it. It's just there was a report that came out saying 3 Sydney players that have tested positive. One was Chad Warner. The other two are unnamed. Um, and judging by how sudden the outness was, there's no injury report on Lloyd. I think like I heard someone say it was like a calf or an ankle, but like that was just a random. I don't think that's true. And if he comes straight back in this week, I think it was COVID. So In a way, it's better if it was because I'm no medical expert, but if you catch it once, I don't think you can catch it again, or like you have a lot lower likelihood of catching it again. So yeah, it just sucks though because then it could have held him. And round one score, I really don't care about my round one score. Uh, I could have just fielded someone else. Yeah, it sucks, but yeah, it's good that Lloyd's healthy. Um, yeah, he'll come in at some point. He's definitely a top six defender. Then we're on to Ridley, which is even more of like just a headache. Game started, and I think Geelong scored the first three unanswered, something like that. It was the first two unanswered. I'm thinking, all right, this is a smacking. Should be good for Ridley actually, because Geelong score a lot of goals, but they're also inaccurate. They're very high scoring team. They're just not always scoring goals. I think even on the weekend they were like 14 and 11 or something like that. So kick-ins is what you want, and for kick-ins you need a behind. I'm thinking, all right, this is good for Ridley. And then it was second quarter, maybe it was first quarter. Laverde goes down. I'm thinking, shit, this isn't good. But they've still got Jake Kelly, and that meant nothing because Ridley went to lockdown, played pretty poor all game. Did keep his high like time on ground stuff, but just wasn't good. Yeah. Good news is Laverde did look all right, so I think he's just straight back in round two. Um, I think he did actually return to the ground. I stopped watching at the end. I went to go watch Spider Man. Uh, but yeah, I think, man, there was even a point uh, in the third quarter. I think, yeah, it was like the first half of the third or second half of the third. Ridley moved up forward. Now that is a huge concern. If they think he's a kind of like utility player that when they're down, they just need a spark, they can move him. He is a good kick. He's one of the better kicks in the league. Not top. Maybe he's just outside maybe the top 8 kicks, maybe top 10, somewhere around there. He's just a good kick. Doesn't turn it over often. Very good intercept marker. I don't know why you'd put him forward. Even when down, I don't know why you'd put him forward. But Essendon got slapped the whole game. The only shining light from that game was Nick Martin, and we'll get to him later. But this is distressing because if Ridley is a utility player, it's not good. And he also, I've got it here, shared kick-ins with a lot of different players. Even Merritt had a kick-in, which, I mean, I think it maybe it was two kick-ins. That's nothing, but it's the mindset of, all right, he's not dominating kick-ins this year, which is, like I said, it's odd because he's one of the better kicks in, at least in that team. Like, who's the better kick? Merritt's not a great kick. He's pretty inefficient with it. Shields not good. Verde, no. Like, I'd say Ridley's the best kick at Essendon. At least like in the defensive line, that's actually going to take your kick in. Uh, yeah, I don't know, it's a bit tough. If he's sharing kick ins, it's really going to drop his scoring, and then I think he's outside the top 8 defenders, especially with Doherty playing good again. Short, this is the craziest 109. This really was a 60-70 game around there. He only had 10 touches outside of kick ins. We got written down. Not doesn't sound right, but probably is actually. He played really bad, but it was a bad Richmond performance as well. Um, they did get hit with a couple injuries. Like it just not even like Prestia went off injured, but there were just a couple like niggle injuries, so people were playing like limping. Still, that was pretty bad from Short. They just couldn't kick it around the back properly. We'll see once Richmond gets a bit healthier how it goes, but starting to think the correct play was Stewart, Short, probably still Short. Who he's probably just going to stay consistent. Even in a bad game, he got 109. So he gets, that bit of champion data love. Um, Whitfield, Hewitt. and probably save the money and add in an extra forward. I think that was the correct way to do it. I just didn't like the rookies here, so yeah. Um, Short, definitely a keep. Like I said, he does get a bit of champion data love, and that was an off game. Only 10 touches outside of kick-ins, not going to happen often. He's actually a high disposal player. Whitfield, not much here. I didn't really watch the game, but he just couldn't get near it. I only watched the first quarter, and like I said, I went to go watch Spider Man. It was definitely more interesting than watching Buddy not hit 1,000 goals. The Sydney, like GWS versus Sydney game is always pretty contested, and it's not really Whitfield's strong suit. It's more of an uncontested player that gets his cheapies and stuff like that. So, in a highly contested game where you really have to fight for the ball, I wasn't really expecting much from him. Um, you still got to pick him. Like you had to pick Whitfield at 500k. He will probably be a top 8 defender unless something happens. Um, he'll be fine. Not in the defense. This is the least worried. Probably like of all the underperforming premiums, this is the least I'm worried about, just because of the matchup. Matchup, just it didn't suit him, and it is what it is. Hewitt was great. I actually have him here as like all capitals, exclamation mark, great. A lot of CBAs, very active, uh, on field a lot, a bit more than I thought he'd be actually. Good score. Uh, Played like a big. The Carlton midfield played like the Dogs midfield, which that works for them. Only issue here is what happens when Walsh returns. I think it means Chera goes out, but Chera also played really good here. He, I think had 110 super coach, but like had 20 touches, 2 goals, something like that. So yeah, I think Chera leaves, but it does become a little hard. I could see Hewitt losing CBAs, but even if he stays at like 110, which is 20 points down, I don't know, maybe at 110 is a bit optimistic, maybe lower. I still think he's fine. He'll definitely make money, and he'll serve as a very competent D5, D6 for a while, at least until like you can upgrade from him. Hinge didn't watch the game at all, but just from what I've heard, he played good the first half. He had like 40-point first half, and then just got stuck on a wing, did nothing for the rest of the game, which is disappointing. But uh, Miller, from what I've heard, is like kind of what they swapped him with, so we'll see. I didn't really watch it, so I can't comment. So even then, 50, I'll take it. He's just got to play. That's all. D6. I didn't really like the other options. McCartan did end up being the correct option, but I wasn't really sold on him. I was kind of like selling myself on McCartan. But then I didn't really like the pick. Turned out to be the correct one, but yeah, you can't get it right every week. Gibcus looked fine. I don't think he did anything abhorrently bad. He had a slow start, but rookie first game. It was second game of the year. Right? Like the grand final rematch was the day before. This was the actual like opening season game. So yeah, I think he's fine. I think 56 is probably between 56 and 65. I reckon is his scoring range. Um, Job security is a bit iffy, but I actually think Richmond should keep him in the side. I think Richmond it was poor performance throughout, but I think Gibcus looked all right for a first gamer. See, we'll see if he loses. And then DeConing went off with an injury, suspected concussion, but then he was grabbing his knee, so got to wait for the injury report. Um, Higher likelihood it's concussion, which if it is, you can use him as a loop this week because the players you should have is McRae. You shouldn't have missed McRae. Put him as vice, and then you can loop if you don't like the score, but you'll probably take McRae. Then on to the midfield. Like I was saying, McRae, you got to start him. So good. Captaincy, like if I didn't have as much faith in Puka as I did against a pretty bad West Coast team, even though they made it competitive. It was a good game, probably Gold Coast's best game in a while. Uh, yeah, I would have taken McRae. It's just I thought Tuke was actually going to 150, and they kind of swapped scores. Neil, I guess I'll talk on Tuke. Just in terms of energy and like playing hard, he's probably the best midfielder you could have. Very, very high effort. He's always like trying. Um, I don't know if it's he's trying to like validate himself, validate Gold Coast as a professional AFL caliber, not the worst team in the league type of team. He does hold a bit of a grudge, I guess. And I think he's actually a good Brownlow contender this year. Depends. So I think Rowell is going to take 3 votes from that game. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, Tuke was obviously the option to start here. And the fact that I had a team that didn't have him in is a bit surprising. Um, Neil looked great in a bad game like that. That's a contender for the worst game of the year, honestly. The Brisbane Port game. It was just bad all around. Low scoring, bad skill errors, really bad skill errors, injuries throughout. It's just not a good game. So 140 from a bad game, I'll take it. Actually watch that, and God, why did I watch it? I should have watched something else, anything else. Raul 157. He's back. The king is back. Supercoach is great. He's back. I've picked him every year, which is 3 years. Huge Raul believer. Yeah, he's just good. It To see young players kind of hit their stride is always good to see. Um, actually, have him here as is M1 plus, so he's not going to hit that. It'll probably be like probably where he is M4, M5 standards, somewhere around here. Um, yeah, he just looked really good. Really liked that game. It was a good game as well. Even though West Coast lost, I knew they were going to lose. At least it was competitive. Barry, I've got here is big concern because first half, he was really good. I think he had 55 in the first half. I'm not too sure. Which I was like, all right, 55. Say he drops off, ends in the 90s, or 80s even. I'm okay with that. 268k, 85 average. Sure, I'll take it. Bad news is because they were down, they went to restructure the team. He ended up on a bad wing, just kind of like the field of the Gabba. They don't kick towards the other wing because then it's harder to make subs. And he just couldn't get any of it. He had like a 10-point second half. It was just bad all around. Not much you can do here. Maybe if you could make up, I think you need like 90k. You could get to Lipinski, who looked great. Probably go over him in a minute. Like go over the games at the end of this. Yeah, not great second half. Did end the game with a bit of a shoulder hit, but then I also saw him throw a footy into the crowd because they won. So wait for the injury report, see what's going on. I think he'll be fine. I think it was just like came down a bit awkwardly. Um, kind of just gave himself a bit of a tingle in the shoulder, and it hurt a bit. We'll see though. We'll see how it goes. Horn Francis looked good. Kind of looked like young Paddy Dangerfield. Wasn't I don't like how the commentators treat him. Commentators treat him like he's the next huge player in the league. Like he's a Brownlow threat this year. He's not really. Like, calm down. It's his first gamer. Yeah, that's really the only thing I have bad to say about him. I don't like how commentary treats him. Because then eventually, when he does have an off game, they're gonna like pack onto him and say, "Oh, was he worthy of the number 1 pick?" So I'm not a fan of that. Dacos does look like the better rookie right now. Horn Francis might develop better because, like I said, he if there was a player he reminds me of, maybe it's just because of the games. I think they were on the same day. It was Patrick Dangerfield. A bit of Lockie Neal also in there. Not as much possession wise, but ability to kind of get a contested ball and sprint out of there and get an inside 50. That's like a Lockie Neal style thing, Patrick Dangerfield style thing. Why Dangerfield at like 150 this week. Uh, I don't know what other mids. Dusty in a way. I really don't want to do the Dusty comparison because they do play differently. Dusty's very like on ball, beating his defender, whereas Horn Francis is a bit of like get the ball and run away from the defender. We'll see. I think Horn Francis is going to have a good career either way. Dacos, I said he looks really good. He's going to get defensive DPP if he plays the way he does, um, which is going to be crazy because then I don't think you actually have to trade anyone here. I think you just straight up move in defense, upgrade who you need to, and that's fine. Like, honestly, that's really good if he gets defensive DPP in round six. Really good. Ward was disappointing. No other way around it. He couldn't find the ball. Uh, Bit unlucky, honestly. At least in the first half, I think he there was a lot of times where was at the center bounce and he'd be on one side and the ball was just tapped the other side. So it is what it is. Can't really do much about that. It's just the way the cookie crumbles. But second half, he looked off. He looked pretty bad in the second half. Um, I wouldn't recommend trading him because that's an easy way to get stung by rookies in the second half of the year. I reckon just I'll get into the trade in a minute, but I reckon you bench him, move Rochelle into the mids, and then field Rochelle. Um, yeah, and then just sit on the slow burn for him. Eventually, he'll make money because he's a midfielder at Hawthorn, and Hawthorn is pretty synonymous with having an injury early in the season, so he'll find time to play. Stevens was fine, bit underscored, but again, I didn't really watch that game. McDonald, terrible role. Terrible, terrible role. He's half forward. It leads to a lot of things. Like they're not stats how he plays. Like as I was watching, he had a lot of good tap forwards. You know, it'd be a marking contest, and he just kind of taps it out into the space where someone can then pick it up. But that's not obviously a stat. I guess like spoil, but they weren't spoils. Just terrible role. Ooh, we'll see. I think you have to keep him. There's just not enough playable people here. Hugh, ooh, yeah, I think Hugh is the way you say his name. The West Coast guy didn't look good. Probably pretty droppable. Uh, and then Saligo scored 29 or 39. I think it was 29. So just no one really here to put. So you got to keep him. And then oh my god, this was terrible. This might be the worst I've ever seen a rookie handled. 49% time on ground. I saw, I don't know if this was a puff piece or just, internet chatter. People saying he was a apprentice Jack Steele who played 49% time on ground and scored two. He's straight out of the side. Obviously, he's not getting picked next game. If he does, that's incredible. And I'm definitely not keeping him this week. The only reason I'd keep him is there's not enough rookies that would force me to make a trade next week. Uh, like man, it's tough. He's really bad though, and I don't understand what is the mindset for the team list guy and just the coach to pick a first gamer, put him in the midfield with Jack Steele, who is a very good midfielder, then play him 49%, under 50% time on ground. That destroys player morale. That destroys the I think of the word like the substitution, like the rotations, screws everything up. And now he's going to go to the VFL and think, damn, I've ruined my shot. Like, this is just not good for anyone involved. It would have been better if they just made him a sub. And I don't like the sub. I think the sub is really bad as well. But that's better than that. Like, under 50% time on ground for a first gamer that didn't get hurt. and he's playing midfield. That's poor. That's just poor management, honestly. I can't see anyone defending that. Even like, okay, say he's a bad player, and all right, say he scores 36 like Ward did in normal time on ground. So say 70 to 80% time on ground. That's better for the player than not playing him. You don't play him, now he's gonna second guess himself. It's just bad. And honestly, probably the worst thing to come out of the weekend. At least like actual, not super coach wise, player wise. Gorn Grundy had Darcy. Um, kind of got lucky here. I After I recorded the last Supercoach video, I saw I had 35k in the bank, and I was like, I'll just experiment with see how I like having Darcy and Gorn in the team. I went Grundy up, and thank God I left that in for longer than 20 minutes because in that 20 minutes was the lockout, and that's when Darcy went out. And I went to the Wednesday night game. Gorn just, it was such an off game. Like, I even have it here, 9 clangers from Max Gorn. That's not normal. All right, he's just cursed in round one. This is definitely not a trade out pick. People are going to say, like, oh, but Wits is the more value option. Yeah, Wits is fine until that weird fall that he had in the third quarter. Uh, until that isn't a non-injury fall, and he does get hurt. Now you're stuck with a 300k Ruck, and there's no other options. So, lucky I didn't have Darcy in at lockout, because if I did, it would have been pretty screwed. Probably would have went Marshall, but yeah, I wouldn't have liked that pick. I'm fine with this. You take away the 9 clangers from Gorn, and it's a 120, and then everyone's happy. Grundy 124. He looked good. Uh, this is probably what you expect, around a 125 per week. That's a good score. Um, there's nothing wrong with that. There's not many rocks that are going to consistently give you this level of scoring. At least, like actually consistently do it. And then this one I've been kicking myself over. I went Hayes to Dixon because I cared too much about job security. And now it looks like Dixon might get dropped. He didn't play too good. Uh, and then West Coast lost. It's a bit tough. Man, I have got one trade I might do this week. It'll be Owens out, Rochelle to the mids, and then bring in Hayes and make a swap. Uh, Man, it's tough. I didn't do any research on Hayes. If I did, I probably would have kept him. It is on me. Like, I take full brunt for this. I should have done some research. Should have done it. I got a bit too stuck on there was a report that came out saying Marshall could be back for next week. I was like, damn, if Marshall's back, they're gonna play a rookie over him. Probably not. But then he comes out, scores 120. I think he's got that like cult hero aspect to him. So we'll see. I think he actually keeps his spot now just from that. Maybe plays a defender, a tall defender, or a tall forward. Or maybe just Ryder just doesn't make it back into the team for a while until someone drops in form. Yeah, that's tough. Dunkley clear F1. Not really much to talk about here. Dogs did what they do. They hogged all the points, honestly, from Melbourne players. And I think Bont is out this week. And if he is, that makes a tough VC option between McRae and Dunkley. I think you go McRae off consistency, but Dunkley really could 150 this week. We'll see. Against Carlton, which is this actually going to be a really fun game to watch on Thursday. Which is surprising. I don't like Carlton at all, but it's going to be fun because Carlton plays like the Dogs, and the Dogs are the Dogs. So, and there's no Bond, so it's going to be a bit better to watch. Butters did what you expect, but I do have here big concern because he plays very recklessly. he has a tendency to just kind of go in for the ball, and he's not going to make it 22. It looks like. Um, Keep him until he does get injured because he's he's skillful. He's very good at what he does. But I struggle to see him making all 22 games this year. At least like maybe it's like a small injury. He's off 2 weeks and just hold him. But yeah, he's very reckless in the way he plays. Um, but he's good. So I'll take it, and he's fun to watch. Probably the bright spark of that game. Him and Houston were the bright spark of that shitty Port Adelaide game. Um, Cornelio, again, it was I didn't watch the game, but just off history, the Swans and GWS game, it's not a very high scoring super coach game. Uh, there's not much open footy to get. Um, this it was really an off week. It was, did Buddy score five this game? He didn't. So on to the next one. Not really much you can take out of GWS scores. But I would have liked to see him get a little bit more physical and a little bit less hack kick, like just kick it forward. He's a bit inefficient with it. But for 260, I'll take it. Jerry is the number one ruck. Thank God he is, because I was stuck here. Because I brought in Naish thinking, all right, Naish will be all right. And I did have Naish on field. I just switched that before. Uh, Thank God he was number one ruck, and he played good enough to keep it. Goldstein's pretty good forward, so I think they move Goldstein up forward, drop CCJ. Maybe I think bring in Eddie Ford, but it is what it is. I don't think CCJ and Goldstein and Sherry work. And I think Coleman Jones is the worst of that three, at least like in terms of what he can provide for the team. Maybe skill wise, he's better than Sherry, but he can't ruck. So got to keep a ruck in there. And then Naish, this was tough. He had 13 at halftime or 14 at halftime. Thank God he had a 50-point second half. I was thinking, damn, I've just locked myself into 189k that I can't trade because there's no one that good. And I didn't want to use two trades this week. But he did fix up. And his role isn't as bad as it looks. He's playing, at least at Optus, offside wing or longside wing, which sucks, but that's only at Optus. And it's because West Coast are so stubborn with playing towards the short side. If they just, kick to the open man, they'd be fine. But it is what it is. And also, he's a very inefficient kicker. Short distance, I think he's above average kick, but long distance, he just hacks it forward, and that sucks for Supercoach. Really sucks because it means a lot of clangers. Rochelle didn't watch the game, but 5 goals on debut. Um, I'll take it. And he almost said the game winner. I heard. Yeah, I'll take it. That's fine. At least I had him on field. I would have liked to have Martin on field, but that was unrealistic because, again, I didn't do any research into him. I really should have done a bit more research. And I don't think there was any way I could loop, unless I traded Stevens, but I don't think I could have at the time. I don't know. I wasn't looking at Supercoach. Baldwin, not great, but Essendon, like I said, it was just a poor performance from them. Uh, Going up against, I saw him a couple of times manned up by Tom Stewart, and that's just a bad for a first gamer. That's just bad. Like you can't really expect much, and it's just Geelong's defense is pretty good by default. Uh, this week, who does he have? He has Brisbane. Uh, yeah, we'll see how it goes. Maybe a correction trade here next week. I'm not gonna do it this week because I think he can still get a bit better. Reminds me a lot of Harry Jones last year. A lot of people hopped off that, including me, I think, or I didn't ever have him. And then towards the end of the year, he kicks a couple of goals, has a couple of good scoring games, and then you trade him out for a bit of profit. For now, keep him, and just hope Essendon play better this week 'cause they played really bad. And then I think this was the best rookie of the round, and he's definitely going on field this week. Nick Martin looked like the best Martin in the AFL, and he really got underscored, but that was because I think he had two 150s on the other side. Then was there a one? I think Stengel had 130, so they just hogged all the points. I think this was a 120 game, which is 6 points, but it's yeah, it's what it means to see visually, and yeah, I think he played really good. Langford's out, so his job security is really nice as well. Uh, I would like to see him get a bit more like on ball minutes, like not a ton. I don't think he's an on ball player. I think he does play better on the wing. Um, and he's obviously not going to score 5 goals every week. But if these two can match for maybe 110 a week, so one scores 60, one scores 50, that's it's 110 a week. So I'll take it. I'll take it from rookies, especially a 102k rookie. You take it. Talked about Nage, talked about Martin. It's about everyone in the team. Now, as for trades, I said it before. I'm waiting for team sheets to see if he really is out this week. I think either way, I just got to make this trade. Move him there, and then get in. All right, fine. That took a minute. Had to refresh the page a couple of times. Or Jack Hayes. Hayes, I I'm gonna make the trade, so I'll just do it now. But let me just see the schedule because I might loop him with Naish. Can I? No, I can't actually. Yeah, that sucks. Uh it's tough because I think he's a good scorer. Like I think he's gonna score 80 plus every week. I did hear he's scored 200 multiple times in the lower leagues. I think he plays in the CNFL, the South Australian um, version. If that's true, I haven't looked into it because I don't really care about it. It's lower leagues. It's not not going to transfer over. Or else Finn McRae would be really good. Um, if he can get 80 plus a week, that's fine by me, man. Like 102k, 80 plus, sprinkling a couple hundreds in there. I'm a okay with that. And he's against Brisbane this week. Brisbane don't have that many tall defenders. They have Starcevic, who I'm guessing if Hayes goes forward, Starcevic goes on him. But even then, what you do is you just put Marshall and Hayes forward. And if Ryder's back, maybe you put Hayes in the back line and Marshall and Ryder forward. Either way, it works out. What am I doing? Brisbane. I looked at the just the wrong game. Frio. Frio. That's interesting. That's interesting actually. Darcy probably back. So in terms of Ruck contest, you won't be winning many of them. Uh, hmm, I still think he'll score good. I think 80 plus is around what you can expect. But yeah, we'll go over a couple of players that scored big, and it's already 40 minutes. Maybe we'll just go over this quick. Tom Green looked really good. Maybe it's his breakout year, but team was missing Toby Green, so and Green has put up a couple of big scores like this before. I think more like 130 range without Toby Green. So wait and see. I don't think you should be hopping on this pick right now. Maybe for draft it's fine, but that's it. Petrarca he loves playing the dogs. He in the grand final, I think he also had a 170. So not yet. He's pretty inefficient with the ball. So wait and see on him. Dangerfield, if he had forward, I wouldn't say bring him in this week, but I'd say there's an argument for bringing him in the coming weeks. Boak looked really good for his age. I don't know how this guy keeps doing it. He's like 32, I think. 30. 30 something. Um, yeah, he is just consistency personified. Hawkins, key forward. Doherty, like I said, he could be a top six defender. If he's back to old Doherty, he probably is. Um, take away, say, 10 points for the goal. It's 134. And is he the second highest scoring defender? Something like that. Yeah, I think we've got to bring him in at some point, um, especially if Carlton keeps playing how they are. I still don't think they're top eight. I think they'll finish ninth. I think that's where they'll finish. Um, yeah, I think Doherty is someone that you should be planning to have to bring in at some point. Dan Houston looked really good. Uh, man, some of these kicks are just like just look really nice off the boot. Um, wait and see, because he's someone who's a utility player at Portland, so he can get pushed around like a little bit, just moved. If he keeps his spot where he is, I think he's a top defender. I don't want to put a number on it. I think top eight is a fair number. Especially if Ridley gets stuck in lockdown, then he Houston pushes over him. Heaney was didn't watch it, but 3 goals, fair amount of midfield time, CBAs and stuff. He looked really good, but everyone knew he was going to be good. The only reason I don't have him is I couldn't afford him. Uh, but turns out the correct play was actually drop Ridley, keep that money forward, and then start Heaney. But of course, didn't do it. Man, I should have done it. Uh, Almac, Luke McDonald, he looked really good in a side that had Zeeble or and Luke McDonald playing. He did get better after Mackay went down, but I don't think that's any like correlation there. I think it's just he's a good player, and a couple of years ago he was a premium level, so 372 is a bit awkward just because he's mid only. If he had mid defender, there would have been a lot more people starting him, and a lot of people trading him in this week, probably for Ridley or Crisp, but I don't think you trade Crisp. I think Ridley is more tradable than Crisp, and I would go on record for that. Sard, I don't think you can trade him in right now. I think it was a bit of a one game wonder. Just wait and see on him. Lipinski is the Barry replacement, a little bit more than McDonald, just because it's easier to get to Lipinski. The 20 odd K difference, it makes it a bit easier to get to him. Cripps could be huge this year. 35% ownership. It's not small. It's a bit tough. If you miss out on this, it could mean a lot for your ranking, but he did get hurt in the game, and he was carried a bit by a couple of goals. He had a couple of bad inside 50 kicks. Hoping this isn't a huge miss for me, honestly. I thought I wrote something down for him. Yeah, just a potentially huge miss. Wits is probably the most common replacement after Darcy went out, unless you kept Darcy. And I think the correct play with Darcy was hold him and see. Like, just don't make an instant trade. The instant trade was Wits, but if you held him, you got Hayes score and then you could loop it. Matthew Kennedy looked like this from the Carlton game. The people I was most impressed with was Hewitt, Doherty, then Matt Kennedy. Matt Kennedy looked really good. Again, this is a wait and see with Walsh coming back. Kennedy had a huge impact on the game, at least early on. Fizzled out towards the end, but that's when Cripps started to carry. A huge contested ball winner. Has the ability to kick a goal, move forward. Really good player. So keep an eye on him. Had a good end to the end of last year as well. So it is what it is. We'll see. Paul, wait and see because this guy's 30 plus, soft tissue injuries. Uh, Man, he was D1 for everyone as well. That's the thing. He dropped to 2.5% ownership. Ah, man, if only he didn't hurt his hammy. Then I wouldn't have had the issue with Crisp. I wouldn't have had the issue with Ripley. Would have had a better forward line. That sucks. Um, Keys can't really get off one game. Brayshaw in line for breakout year. I think everyone knows that. It's just a matter of, does he drop a bit in price and then you bring him in, or do you pay up for him? I think he's pretty much a shoe in for breakout this year. Jack A spoke about LDU. I think that was a 1 game wonder. We'll see. Tim English is enticing, and this is gonna keep going up. I think it was at 6% during the game when I checked. Uh, I like him better as a forward than a ruck. That's about all I can say on it. I think he is top 8 forward until Martin kind of comes back in. Uh, we'll see. We'll see though. I think as a forward, you could definitely bring him in. I don't like going to English though. I will say that I don't like that trade. Chera Stengel is cheap and should keep his role after that game. I think he had 4 goals. So if you need someone under 250k, there's a switch there. Maybe you go Berry to him. Don't like that trade, but that's an option. Taranto outperformed what I thought he would, but he's probably going to put in a bad game. Newcomb is a bit interesting because Sam Mitchell coached the VFL team that Newcomb dominated on, and then now he's coaching the actual team, and Newcomb was just good all around. And just a side note, apparently Dermot Brereton knows who Duke Nukem is. I don't know if someone told him that's a nickname or something, but there's no way he knows who Duke Nukem is. Uh, yeah, it's interesting. Maybe this was just 1 game. He did have 1 game last year where he was good. Uh, could be someone that you bring in for cash gen. Josh Kelly was pretty good. Didn't watch it though. Siebel was good. Bit overpriced though for his what he can do this year with, especially now that Luke McDonald's good. It looks good anyway. Clayton, heaps of clangers, or else this would have been a lot higher. Jade Gresham paid off people that stuck to it. 15% of people, really. That's crazy. Um, but I think he was carried by a goal or two, so take that into account. Dusty he is probably going to drop after this game. Crouch was alright. I didn't watch it, but I didn't really like the stats I saw. That's about it, honestly. Darcy Parish really got up to 99. That's He was tied with Ridley for a while. But yeah, I think that's about it for this week. Pretty long video. Um, it is what it is. It's round 1. There's a lot to talk about. And that's about it. See you all next week. Tasty out.